Hello and welcome. Time for review and recap. Survivor 50. Not too bad, right? I will say that it's probably not my best haiku, but we'll see if I can outdo it later on in this video. But for now, thank you so much for being here. This is another review and recap for Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans, this time for episode 7. And we're gonna start off where last episode left off, and that was Camilla, Genevieve, and Colby all being voted off. And we start off this episode with everybody coming back one after another from their separate tribal councils. We have Aubrey catching some heat because she said that she was going to use her idol no matter what, but she backed out of that. Rick and Christian frustrated that she is not only not using it, but coming up with like poor excuses, being like, everything happened so quickly and I just forgot to use it. This is Survivor 50. That was really, really bad. I mean, truly, all the lying in this surrounding advantages are bad, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Somebody else who is frustrated is Tiffany, because she comes back with Jonathan, Chrissy, and Stephanie, and she tells them that I'm not mad at the move or how everybody voted. I'm just upset I got blindsided and I had to send my friend, who I was vibing with in the game, out when I wasn't expecting it. And this continues on to the next morning where Dee is like, okay, I'm frustrated now because Camilla was part of my trio as well as Jonathan lied. I gotta go check this out. So Dee goes over to have a conversation with Jonathan. They were about to go on a walk to hash everything out, but that's when Dee asks Coach, how are you doing? And Coach goes into, you're not being honest, you don't trust me, and I don't trust you. This launches into Dee trying to defend herself, but then Jonathan comes in being like, oh yeah, were you being truthful and honest about how you wanted to vote for Charlie when you were lying to me the entire day and blindsided me? This escalation puts a bigger and bigger target on Dee. Coach eventually gets off the hammock, goes to address some of the campers, and is like, look, if you're thinking about lying and you think that lying will help you win the show, think again. There's no lying in Survivor 50, which makes everybody just annoyed. We know that Coach loves to play this integrity, truthful, upright game and likes to preach it around the entire camp, but let's just be for real. This is Survivor. You should anticipate people lying. You should anticipate people playing the game strategically. And when you're barking orders that people can't play it the way that it has been played and will always be played, because let's be for real, Coach lies as well. No matter how many haikus he makes up about how nobody tells the truth as well as Coach. After all that hubbub, we have Ozzy and Rizo coming back to the beach. They find out that they missed 3 tribal councils as well as they made the jury. Now, sticking with Coach, there is an opening with the 4 horsemen who are only a 3 horseman group now. So with Rizo back, Coach is like, let me bring him into the fold. And Coach gives maybe too much information in that he is like, I want to bring you into the 4 horsemen. We have an opening because Colby left and you're his replacement. And Rizo's just like, cool, great, I'm a replacement. That if Colby was still here, I would be outside of the 4 horsemen. I really like this moment between Rizo and Coach. Truly, I felt like this week Rizo was on a roll. Being brought into the 4 horsemen, as well as being on exile with Ozzy, they were able to solidify the trio of CiRizard of Oz. And that trio is talking with each other when Emily walks up and brings up Rizo's idol, which catches Rizo off guard and was like, where did you hear this? And Emily is like, oh, I heard it from Dee. Nobody can trust Emily with telling her any information about anything because it'll always leak out. So Dee, who already has a target on her back from Jonathan and Coach, is now feeling heat from Rizo, who is feeling like Dee kind of overstepped boundaries by throwing out information that he didn't want out there. Dee, I felt like up to this point, even with blindsiding Jonathan, was playing a pretty solid game, but now all these side conversations and on top of that, the messy gameplay of leaking too much information to too many people, and she's the final winner left in the game, I was thinking that it's not looking good for Dee whatsoever early on in this episode. But let's put a pin in that for now, as everybody sees in the distance a boat coming towards camp. It delivers a mail that says one person needs to get in the boat and will be taken off and will come back later that afternoon. Nobody wants to volunteer, so instead they all decide to put their dice in a bag and do a drawing from there, where the person chosen is Stephanie. She gets into the boat and is taken off to like a solo advantage spot, where she will be playing a classic Survivor game of holding her hand over her head, being tethered to a giant water container, to where if she can last the full hour to where she'll know when a pot breaks on a rock, she will win an advantage. But if she can't make the hour, she will lose her vote. During this portion of the episode, I thought back to last week where I was like, I want something more. I want there to be more opportunities for more advantages. After a while of kind of just sitting on these Billie Eilish Boomerang Idols, and truly nothing else is in the game except for that one time that Colby and Savannah played against each other, as well as the only other advantage in the game at the moment was Ciri's extra vote that she got from Ozzy, like in episode 1 or 2. So it was nice to see that something else was happening and more advantages being able to come into the game. I truly thought it was very interesting that they gave Stephanie the time limit of an hour instead of just saying that you had to stay there for the amounted time for the pot to have to drop, because they gave her the pot and they painted lines on the apparatus to kind of show like when is it supposed to drop. But giving her the hour time limit, I think proved to be a mental struggle, because as people just living our lives, hours go by like that, especially when you're like watching TV, watching content, kind of just sitting at your desk, your hour lunch break just goes by like that. So giving her an hour, which doesn't feel like a long time, but when you're in this situation and your mind goes, an hour is short, you got this. And then she keeps on looking over and the pot hasn't moved very much, that she's like, it should be quicker. I think was such a mental aspect to this game that I really, really appreciated. Stephanie is able to last the entire time. She gets to keep her vote. And not only that, but she gets a steal a vote advantage. Now coming back to camp, she's trying to figure out what to tell everybody else. So she tells everybody that if she was able to last at least 30 minutes of holding her hand over her head, that she would be able to at least keep her vote. But if she were to have made it an hour, then she would have gotten an advantage, and she just wasn't able to get the advantage. I'm sure multiple people thought she was lying, but one person that instantly knew that she was lying was Ciri. And so they go off to get some water, and Ciri is laughing, and Stephanie just like blurts it out, yeah, I got an advantage, I gotta steal a vote. I think it is so powerful and so impressive that Ciri, who I was worried could have been the first person voted out of this season, has made it all the way up to the jury portion and is one of like only 2 people to know where every advantage is in the game. And she has this like incredible social game to where Stephanie, who I'm sure likes Ciri and has talked to her, but we haven't seen these like full-blown alliance conversations between the two. But within 2 minutes of talking with Ciri, she just like blurts out her advantage. It's really, really impressive. Of course, Ciri goes and tells Rizo, but now it's time for everybody to get ready, head down to meet up with Jeff for this week's immunity/reward challenge. In this challenge, the 14 players will be divided up into 2 teams of 7. They will have to dig up this boulder, roll it through this obstacle course, gathering keys, as well as using it to get up onto a high platform. And then once they're on the platform, do a puzzle, and the first team to get through this obstacle course and solve their puzzle will win reward, which is a Chinese food buffet, but they will also win to the second part of the immunity challenge, where they will do a secondary competition where they will have to balance a ball on a really long stick while also balancing on a balance beam. The last person standing in that competition will win individual immunity, where everybody will go to tribal council, all 14 players, and 1 person will be voted out, and only 1 person will have immunity. This is by far my favorite immunity/reward challenge. I love that it was a schoolyard pick. It was Christian and Jonathan who are captains. I love the giant boulder. I thought the production design on that was spectacular. I love the obstacle course. I love how close it was all the way up to the puzzle, and then it was super close on the puzzle. And also having a pretty chill reward of just having Chinese food was just nice after having this like lavish Applebee's promo as well as the Zach Brown stuff. Just having them go off next to camp to just eat food was nice to see, as well as having a part 2 for individual immunity. I thought was really great for a best of both worlds. We got to see this like grand challenge in part 1 to then pare everything down to a nice, sleek, small, classic Survivor immunity challenge, which I really enjoyed. Now when we get down to the gameplay, I thought because Purple had Jonathan that they were going to be able to push this boulder no problem through the entire way. But in fact, it was the blue team to get off to an early lead all the way up until they were bottlenecked by the keys. Joe was able to untie their key bag first, hand it down to Emily. Purple wasn't too far behind with Rizo giving the key bag to Tiffany. This came down to Emily having to try every single key, where Tiffany was able to find the correct key on the first try. This now giving the purple team a lead all the way up to the platform, which they got there first. But this is where the blue team was very efficient in getting everybody up the boulder and onto the platform. So blue had better teamwork than purple, but purple was still very close behind. We got down to the puzzle where it was just neck and neck the entire time. Blue and purple were going back and forth, either being one piece down or one piece ahead. It came down to the wire, and blue team was able to win part 1, win Chinese food, and win into the second part of the immunity challenge. Now, this was pretty standard. We don't have to spend too much time on part 2, because essentially it was Rick was out first, then Emily, then Christian, Stephanie, Dee, who really needed this individual immunity, was out third, leaving Joe versus Ozzy, and Ozzy won individual immunity. So with everything set, everybody grabs their stuff, heads back to the beach, where half the players will go over to their camp, while the other half just keeps on walking, keeps on trucking to the Chinese food. The 7 players back at camp are talking about who they want to vote out. Coach, Jonathan, and Chrissy are the brain trust of figuring out what needs to happen. They're thinking, let's put some votes on Aubrey to enforce that she's going to use the idol, but at this point, Aubrey feels like she has to use it. It's like the scarlet letter at this point. So now Jonathan and Coach and Chrissy are like, well, why are we gonna even put votes on her if she's just gonna use it anyways? Let's just dump some votes on Dee and get her out of here. But the lingering worry of Dee rolling the die and being safe is scary. So now they have to split the vote. Coach wants to do 7-4 Dee and Tiffany. So when everybody rejoins the camp, Coach is running around everywhere, telling everybody the plan and trying to figure out, okay, who are the 4 that's gonna vote for Tiffany and who are the 7 that are gonna vote for Dee, and nobody tell the players in the middle, like Christian. Well, he's saying all of this to Rick, who then goes over and tells Christian. And so at a random point when Coach is feeling good, he has all the details hammered out, everybody knows who they're voting for, but then Christian looks up at Coach at one point and goes, I heard there's a 7-4 split, and Coach loses it. So now he's freaking out on everybody. He wants to know who told him. This is where I really enjoyed Rizo, where he's like, I'll talk to Coach, and then he's telling Coach, you told Rick, who is like mayor of the middle. He probably told Christian. Like, calm down. We slay dragons at tribal council, we don't slay them at camp. And I thought that was a really great line. I thought Rizo played this perfectly. And to commemorate this moment, I have something planned. Coach gets frustrated, doesn't like Christian knowing plan. Rizo calms him down. Am I right? That's gotta be better than the first one. Once Coach is done with his tantrum and is starting to do more haikus to himself and the cameraman, Emily and Rick are just annoyed with Coach and wants to vote Coach out. They're testing the waters with everyone. Ozzy says, cool, just tell me the plan and I'm good. Tiffany's on board, Dee is on board, but you've been selling it for an hour that Dee is the one that everybody wants to vote for, so I'm expecting Dee, but would be interested if something else happened. Well, we get to tribal council and Dee is catching some heat from Jonathan and Coach. She is trying to defend herself, trying to put it out there like it would be a wrong move to vote me out this time in the game. You don't want me on the jury that early. She then gets up and starts going over to like Aubrey and Ozzy to be like, hey, vote for Coach. I have the votes. I have the votes. Other people are whispering. Come to find out, she's telling Aubrey and Ozzy to vote Coach because she's going to use her shot in the dark and she wants extra votes to help maybe kind of tilt the system a little bit just in case if she doesn't get safe, then maybe they would have enough votes on Coach. It was just not going to happen because when it comes down to it, Coach gets 1 vote, Tiffany gets 4 votes, and the rest of the votes are on Dee. Dee is eliminated. Dee played too messy. Jonathan wanted revenge. First jury seat filled. And that's it for this week's episode of Survivor 50, episode 7. I will say that I thought that this was an interesting episode. I did feel like for majority of the edit, we were on this rail system at like a theme park where we were just like chugging along until we got to Dee being eventually voted off. I felt like they set it up so early, and then it was just like a one-track way of going down the line and getting to a very predictable ending. Not saying that that was bad, as I really enjoyed a lot in this episode, from the solo advantage game with Stephanie. The reward and immunity challenge was really fun. I just felt that it was almost overload on Coach, which isn't a bad thing. I liked some of the goofy edits with the haikus and everything, and it was really fun to make up haikus for this episode. But it can be kind of exhausting when it's just over and over and over again talking about no lying, integrity, playing the game honestly, and all this other stuff. I will say that I can understand where people were frustrated with Aubrey not using the idol when she said that she was going to use it. But I also think that it's kind of ridiculous that she knows she's not getting voted out in this week's episode and has to use it or feels the need to use it. I think that she spoke too soon, knowing that she has the numbers during the Blood Moon twist, where she could have just said nothing. I guess that is her fault for saying it and then feeling the pressure of everybody else, but at the same time, if I'm a player, I'm making you make me use the idol. Like, you put my name out there, you make me feel nervous, then I will use it. I'm not going to just use it because everybody's like, you said you were going to use it. Now you're not going to use it? First of all, I'm probably not going to say I'm 100% going to use it. 5 seconds coming back from a challenge where I feel like I have the numbers on my side. I'm not going to just sit there and be like, I'm using it no matter what. I got this. I'm making jury. Let's go. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my time, talk to people about it, especially somebody who trusted me enough to send it to me, or who I at least thought sent it to me. Like, there's conversations and nuances to be had, and I think it was just kind of ridiculous that Aubrey felt the need to use it when she wasn't in any real, like, danger of going home. But hey, that's just Survivor 50 and how people are playing it. But now I want to turn it over to you. What'd you think about this episode? Please let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about Dee feeling all that heat in the beginning? What do you think about Stephanie's steal a vote advantage and the solo game? What did you think about the challenge? What did you think about all the strategy? Do you think Dee was the right vote for this week, or do you think they should have went in a different way? What do you think about Aubrey using her idol even though she didn't get any votes? And what do you think about all the haikus that Coach did this past week's episode? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below you felt. Who are you rooting for? Who are you rooting against? Please let me know anything and everything. And now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Survivor content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.